Please remain standing as I invite Mrs. Rosanna Forbes, adjunct faculty at the South Campus of the University of the Southern Caribbean, to lead us out in prayer.
Let us bow our heads. Loving Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity of being alive today. We thank you for being in your presence. We thank you for all that you have done for us. And Lord, as we go through the proceedings for today, we pray, O God, that you will keep us in our right minds. We are thankful that we can think, we can move, and have our being. We thank you for today, dear Lord, and the awareness that will be placed within us to know, O God, that wellness is what we need to function. We pray, O God, even those who are in a vulnerable position of not being able to function the way that they do. Father, we pray that today's knowledge will quicken us and help us with the wisdom that we would be able, O God, to take care of ourselves and to help others, O God, to do so. We thank you for all those who are here. We pray, O God, that you will continue to bless us and keep us as we impart this knowledge. In Jesus' name we pray with thanksgiving. Amen.
Please be seated. Dr. Colwick Wilson, President, the University of the Southern Caribbean, and his wife, Dr. Delise Wilson, Dr. Len Archer, Provost of the University of the Southern Caribbean, other members of the USC administration, Dr. Susan Chan, Dean of the School of Social Sciences, and other deans present. Our esteemed panelists, Dr. Kenneth Niles, adjunct faculty, the School of Social Sciences, Woman Police Constable Sasha Williams-Goddard, Community-Oriented Policing Section, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Ms. Dion Gishard, CEO of Families in Action, Mrs. Janine McEwen-Simmons, lecturer within the School of Education and Humanities, University of the Southern Caribbean, Mr. Vianney Tony, a master's student in National Security and ISS officer at the University of the Southern Caribbean. Our special invitees, Dr. Alexander Isaacs, Health and ADRA Director of the Caribbean Union Conference, Ms. Ayana John, Acting Director, Health Education within the Ministry of Health, and Mrs. Irma Bailey-Reyes, Interim Supervisor, Developmental Assessment and Intervention Unit, Ministry of Education. Representatives from the South Caribbean Conference, Mrs. Nicole Shallow and Mrs. Ria Mohammed. Faculty, staff, and students, good morning and welcome. We at the School of Social Sciences are elated that you are present as we focus on the theme, Mental Health is a Universal Human Right, a Youth Perspective. We truly appreciate the spotlight focused on mental health as we understand how delicate the human psyche really is. I now invite Dr. Susan Chand, Dean at the School of Social Sciences, to give us more welcome. Please put your hands together.
Thank you, Mrs. Moderator. All protocol observed. I bring you greetings on the occasion of the World Mental Health Day 2023. Welcome. It's my special honor and privilege to extend a very warm and cordial welcome to each and every one of you gathered here today to partake with us on this beautiful celebration of World Mental Health Day that is celebrated globally. And as we navigate through the rigors of our lives, it's so nice that we could dedicate this day to reflect and ponder upon mental health and wellness. And so here at the University of the Southern Caribbean and in the School of Social Sciences, we thought it to be best to commemorate, to pause and reflect upon our own mental health and create an environment and culture of love, compassion, affection, and social support to all those around us. This is fifth year in the row that we are celebrating World Mental Health Day here in the School of Social Sciences, and I thank the persons who have come together in a committee to form this. So it is my privilege to extend a warm welcome to our specially invited guests and to our students who are here from the CUC Secondary School. We are so honored and privileged to have you here, the peer counselors. We are privileged to have members from the different ministries in the government that you are here today. You'll be introduced later in the program. We are very happy to have members of the panel this morning. They will be also introduced to you later in the program. And of course, we are so happy to have our university administrators, Dr. Colwick Wilson, the president of our university. Welcome, sir. And we're so happy to have Dr. Delise Wilson with us, gracing our, with your awesome presence with us. So welcome to both of you. And always we are happy to have our provost, Dr. Len Archer. He's supportive in all our endeavors that we have here in the School of Social Sciences. So welcome, sir. And all our specially invited guests, we say welcome. To all our faculty staff who have come here to support us from the School of Social Sciences and other schools here on our campus, we say welcome. And we want you to enjoy, celebrate with us, relax, and be blessed with the celebration that we are having here on the occasion of World Mental Health Day. Welcome and be blessed. Thank you.
Next to the podium to bring greetings is Dr. Len Archer. He is the interim provost at the University of the Southern Caribbean. Dr. Archer is a native of the smaller, heritage-rich island within the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. He is a scientist at heart with backgrounds in botany, biology, and microbiology. Dr. Len Archer holds the title of Professor Emeritus since his retirement in 2020 from the Advent Health University, where he served as Vice President for Academic Administration and Academic Dean for undergraduate programs at Advent Health for over 10 years. Dr. Archer, the time is yours.
Good morning. All protocols observed. It is a pleasure for me to be here this morning as we assemble today to celebrate Mental Health Day. This has become an honored tradition here at the University of the Southern Caribbean. It's the 5th annual event, and no better place to emphasize mental health but at a university that believes in the divine power of God to cure all mental illnesses and to give us the tools to support each other. Mental health affects every aspect of our lives, our relationships, and our productivity, to our overall happiness and the fulfillment of life. We live in such a fast-paced world, cluttered with lots of activity, and it is essential to pause and reflect on the significance of mental health today and always. We all have thousands of social media connections, I suspect, whether it's through Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, X, formerly Twitter, names change, and many others that I have no understanding or knowledge about and have never used. But among us, I'm sure there are many of us who have those connections. But yet, so many of us remain friendless, in spite of the numerous friends we have. But events like this help us to become more aware that it is not a weakness to seek help or to talk about our struggles. It is actually a sign of strength and resilience. So today we come together to break the stigma that still exists around us and around mental health and create a space for open conversations. Today, while taking this opportunity to appreciate the progress we have made, we want to acknowledge that there still lies a lot of work ahead of us to educate ourselves in new avenues of understanding and learning to interconnect and to find support for each other. Together we can build a society that supports and nurtures mental health and mental well-being. So let us unite in empathy, in compassion, in understanding, and let us stand hand in hand with those facing mental health challenges, reassuring them that they are not alone. And let us continue to raise awareness, promote positive mental health practices, and advocate for accessible resources and support. On this Mental Health Day, you will see a group of people who reaffirm our commitment to prioritizing mental well-being, not just today in this event, but every day. Together, we can create a world where mental health is valued, understood, and supported. The Department of Social Sciences here at the University of the Southern Caribbean is committed to that, and so are we as a university. Thank you, and let us make a difference today and every day.
Thank you, Dr. Archer, for those greetings. Dr. Colwick Wilson serves as the 29th president at the University of the Southern Caribbean since his appointment on July 1, 2021. He is passionate about making his alma mater, Caribbean Union College, now USC. He's passionate, about his alma mater, Caribbean Union College, now USC, and he is poised to take this institution beyond excellence during his tenure. He is a native of the burgeoning petrochemical country within the Caribbean, Guyana, and he holds the following academic qualifications: a BA in Theology, Masters of Arts in Sociology, Leadership and Counseling, and a PhD in Sociology from the University of Michigan. Dr. Wilson is a visionary, innovative, and a collaborative leader with an extremely engaging personality, which our students can attest to. Please help me welcome Dr. Wilson to the stage.
All the previous protocols having been established. Good morning, everyone. Dr. Archer, I sometimes feel encouraged and my mental health improves when in recent times individuals have been identifying me with Guyana and oil. Just want everyone to know that that hasn't improved my mental health thus far. You know, when I was a doctoral student at the University of Michigan in the mid-1990s, the first national survey-based comorbidity study on mental health was conducted. It turned out to be the precursor for the World Mental Health Study, which included over 38 countries around the world, looking at psychiatric prevalence and incidence. Those studies have impacted the development of DSM-5. Now, it's clear to me that the issue of prevalence then was an issue of denial. That is, when the first estimates of the prevalence rates of psychiatric disorders were announced and were broadcast around the world, there was skepticism and doubt. No way could so many people be affected by psychiatric disorder, because you see, there was and still is to some extent a stigma that was attached to the whole notion of you being unwell from a mental health perspective. Now, when we look at the data in Latin America and the Caribbean, we still see a huge gap between the number of people with psychiatric disorder, and this is my emphasis in the few minutes that I've been allotted, and the number of people who remain untreated. Over 33% of individuals in Latin America and the Caribbean are known to be diagnosed with non-affective disorder. 75% of individuals who have been diagnosed with alcohol use and dependency still remain untreated, even from a general mental health perspective, much more a specialized intervention orientation. The challenge we face is a challenge of accessing treatment. And treatment, I'm suggesting, is not limited to general mental health care, but specialized mental health care. It includes the community, all of us recognizing and understanding that when someone is not feeling well, not physically well, meaning a headache, not physically well because their hand or feet aren't working well, but they're simply not feeling well from a mental health perspective, that we ought to take it seriously, not only in the face of suicide and the rising number post-COVID, but from the general life-giving realities that we face every day. So I encourage all of us today, on this Mental Health Day, to recognize that mental health is a human right, and treatment and access to care is also a right that all of us must cease from stigmatizing. So I beseech each of us to recognize these realities, not only when someone amongst us die in mysterious ways, or when people find themselves in troublous moments that are deleterious to their health in a public way, but that we recognize that day to day that we each need each other. And while mental health care is important, self-care is significantly important also. And other care is an important part of our health. And so I encourage each of us to take care of ourselves, take care of each other, look out for ourselves, and look out for each other. We all need ourselves, and we all need each other. May God bless us, and may you enjoy this Mental Health Day, and welcome to USC.
good. Hannah, it's me, Lizzie. Okay, come in. Hey, girl, what's going on? Girl, I come to check up on you. You're never in school, nobody's seen you. We don't know what's going on these days. Going on. But Hannah, why inside that smell so bad? What happened? When was the last time you bathed, girl? We are trying to kill for you.
Well, to be honest, I haven't been feeling well, okay?
Well, I mean, clearly I could see that, but like, what happened?
It's nothing. I'll be fine.
Oh my God, Hannah! Hannah! Hannah, what's going on?
It's just a lot going on, okay?
Hannah, how long?
A few months now.
Hannah. But wait. Hannah, that is cigarettes? Hannah, you're smoking too? Hannah, what's going on?
I told you there's a lot going on right now. Okay.
Hannah, what happened? Hannah? Hannah? Hannah, what happened? Hannah, you know you could always talk to me. It have counselors, you could talk to them too.
I know, I just felt like I could handle it on my own. And I didn't want anyone to think I was crazy.
Hannah, I'm going to think you're crazy, girl. We just all go through rough times. Just like how you could go to a doctor when you have a flu and say, hey, I'm not feeling good. Same way you could go and talk to somebody else and say, hey, my mental health not okay, with feeling overwhelmed without judgment. Hannah, please stop hurting yourself. I could help you.
Thank you.
It's okay not to be okay.
But it's not okay to suffer in silence.
Get some help and remember that you are
alone.
never alone.
Okay, good morning to everyone. Let's get another round of applause. So the title of that skit by the two young ladies would have been Suffering in Silence. And that is a very, common circumstance that does happen, but however, it's not something to overlook. Where there are persons in our own spaces struggling and suffering in silence. And I just want to share with you guys some of the key points from that skit, that we could take with us and be able to help us to be more mindful when it comes to our persons in our own spaces when it comes to their mental health. So one of the key things that we saw in that skit is that Lizzie showed concern. I know that we live in a very, very, I would like to say, a plastic society, which, we know how to mask things well. When it comes to asking people how they are doing, we really don't really ask that to find out how they are doing. We just ask that to give I ticked it off of my list to ask somebody, rather than really staying to ask, how are you doing? So Lizzie showed care. We also saw too that Hannah felt as if she could do it on her own, meaning she could manage her emotions in the midst of the situation that she faced. And that is something that well, for some they may say it's a cultural phenomenon. For others, it could be based on other factors. But the point is, there are persons like us who do go through things like that. And because sometimes we are not aware of the spaces or the places that we can go to, to treat with issues, we think that we have to manage on our own. I'm speaking to the young persons too, especially in our midst. You're going to school, you have a lot of assignments happening, you probably have some financial issues, some family issues as well. So you think that you have to, hold it together, you need to hold it down. And I think the point that we're trying to emphasize in that skit is that you don't need to do it alone. As Dr. Wilson would have highlighted, we all need each other. And that's the last point I want to highlight. It is okay not to be okay. It is okay not to be okay. Again, I'm going back to the reference I made previously about our society becoming very plastic, very surface level, where almost at every turn, especially on social media, you will see, persons demonstrating a lifestyle that has no ounce of sadness. But the reality is, a lot of persons go through depressive moments. A lot of persons are faced with depressing circumstances. So what we want to help persons to understand is that it is okay to feel the emotion. It is what you do with the emotion that is most important. All right? Do you go to somebody that, can help you? Or do you go to somebody that will enable you to go further down in that depressive state? And so I think what we're trying to do is to encourage persons to really surround themselves with solid support systems. Ensure that you have friends that really care about your mental health, that have the best in mind for you. And there are persons professionally trained that can assist you too in getting through some of life's difficulties. So we do hope that this, skit would have been instrumental in helping persons to observe those things. Have a good one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Merritt, and the students for their dramatic presentation. We have come to the interactive, educational, and dynamic portion of this program. I'm going to invite to the podium Dr. Kenneth Niles, Adjunct Faculty, the School of Social Sciences at the University of the Southern Caribbean. He will be the moderator for this morning's panel. Now, I know while this panel is going on, you may have thoughts and questions, so please make sure to jot it down in your folder, because you will be able to have a little bit of rapport Q&A during this panel session. Dr. Niles?
This is really the year of environmental context and control, where everything's supposed to be going green. And today is a green day. So it's a balanced day, it's a healthy day. It's a day where we can really reflect on how we can be better than yesterday. And so with this green concept of mental health, and that's the color for they've given to us. And I say us as a mental health practitioner, we are happy to be aligned to environmental and climate change. So we're looking for change. We're looking for climate change, not just in terms of atmosphere, but in terms of environment, in terms of that which you create within your home, and also within any space, whether school, whether at work, whether university, wherever you are, on the playing field, we want to have a safe environment. And I realize that no matter what we are, whether we are healthy in terms of making sure our blood pressure is right, or cholesterol is going good, the heart is fine, you're eating the right foods. If you can't handle the person next to you, we're in trouble. That alone is a cause for mental health. And so we come today looking for avenues, interventions, and ideas of how to continue to love the person next to you. Come, look at the person next to you and see if you really want that person to sit down next to you. Look a little bit, look with it. And so I want to make sure the environment is clean and, there's no viruses, there are no viruses around. Yesterday, in our world, we thought that mental health was a bad thing. In the Americas, if you didn't have a psychologist, you were crazy. But in the Caribbean, if you had one, you were crazy. So that's since COVID-19, and we thank God for COVID-19, everybody now seems to be, I want to help, could you help me? Something is wrong. We are all now more conscious of mental health as we were ever before. And there's this kind of context for engaging, but yet, there's an issue of stigmatization that we have to work with. And we have to come to that place where we can destigmatize and demystify so that we can establish that unified concept of supporting each other from the home right down to the job. It is our right. And that's why today, mental health theme has to do with the fact that it's a universal human right. You have the right to say, hey, not just a doctor, but anybody are feeling ill. I am also a Rotarian, attached to the Rotary International, where there are 46,000 clubs and 1.4 million people. And every year there's a president for the entire world that comes together, that is installed. And this year we have a guy from Scotland, Gordon McAnally. And his focus is mental health. Why? Because he shared that he had this friend that was saying, I'm not too well, I'm not feeling well. And his other friends were jeering him and saying, boy, what happened to you? Like, you need a little whiskey, or you need a little woman or something, you know? And he was carrying on, and nobody really addressed it. And soon enough, he committed suicide. That friend was his brother. His brother committed suicide because nobody was sensitive enough to say, hey, let's sit down and talk. And so it's not just here, it's everywhere that we need to look at that. And today, we want to look at the issue not just from a broad perspective, but we're going to narrow it down to youth. Youth. Primary school, secondary school, tertiary level, young adult. Because we need to recognize that this is a very vulnerable population, and we want to look at that. So today, we are going to be looking at youth in context of participation, protection, and participation, looking at some theories and seeing how best we can identify the future. It's important to understand that Erickson does have a place here today as we look at from trust all the way down to ego identity. We are looking at that continual development of how the man, and as called mankind, has to recognize that the social fabric is important for his continuum. To do this today and bring justice to this topic, we have some panelists. We have, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Did I count okay? 1, 2, 3, 4? You sure? Now, if I don't count right, you know you're having a problem already. Something going on with him. So again, it's important to have it in the right order. I didn't say 1, 3, 4, 2. I said 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that okay? You're sure? A, B, C, D, E, F, I, J, K, X, Y. I tell you, let's check out Dr. Nice. He needs to go back. Something wrong with his head. You see, when we make these mistakes, we always wonder, what's going on? It's not senility. It may be something else. So let's continue here. We have with us a very illustrious Dion Guichard, who is a nonprofit leader, entrepreneur, training specialist, student, and mother. The CEO of Families in Action, she's a strong proponent of the adage, healthy families lead to healthy societies, and is particularly passionate about the welfare of children and youth. She currently serves on the board of several other non-governmental and community-based organizations committed to youth development, including the Association of Female Executives of Trinidad and Tobago, the Call to Action for Social Change Foundation, where she's the chair of Parenting and Family Life Committee. A trained workshop facilitator for over 20 years' experience, Dion is a member of the International Association of Facilitators and a founding member and training specialist at the Training Lab TT, a professional training provider. A lifelong and long life student. Which one? Lifelong? Okay, that's better. Dion is currently pursuing her PhD in child, adolescent, and youth studies, in addition to journeying with her daughter through her secondary school experience. Let's make welcome to the platform, Dion Guichard. That's all. Don't stop clapping. She ain't reached yet. Next, we have woman police constable, Stasha Williams Goddard. And I have to make sure I say it the right way, Goddard. Yes, number 18815. WPC Stasha Williams Goddard. At her age, and she actually gave us her age. Wow, gosh, she has a strong mind. Age 31. Is a woman police officer attached to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service for the past 11 years. During her time with the police service, she was posted to the Criminal Investigation Department in the Northern Division, where her function was as a detective, spy in the eye. Sasha later found her passion within the service in the area of community policing and became the leader of the St. Joseph Police Youth Club in 2014. As a PYC, she was able to marry her experience as a detective to a love of community and utilize the PYC as a successful crime gang prevention tool by engaging young persons in a wide variety of ongoing character building activities, development programs, and workshops. She is fondly called by the members of her club, excelled in her CXC O-levels at the Corpus Christi College. She immediately therefore enrolled and completed a part-time degree in Management Information Systems and is now pursuing her master's degree in Human Resource Management. She is involved in several programs: the Community Conflict Resolution Center, Masculinity 101, MIC Technical Vocational Training, Environmental Club. Wow, she is just on the ball, bringing back the markets to Market Street, the Family Book Food Bank, Youth Development. Let me tell you something. She serves also as a communication officer at the Trinidad Youth Council and the coordinating officer of the Community Conflict Resolution Center. She also serves on other committees, and recently she was awarded Dorcas Junior Every Girl Wins International Award and the Ministry of Youth Development Champion Youth Mentor Award at the National Youth Awards ceremony. This woman, this mother, this police officer, this detective is here to share with us about protection. Let's make welcome WPC 18811. Did I have it right? 8815. Next, we have Ms. Janine McEwen Simmons. She holds a master's degree in education psychology from Andrews University, Michigan, and an early childhood education from North Central University, Arizona. She lectures in the School of Education and Humanities at the University of the Southern Caribbean. Interests are education, teaching, learning, and she is involved with youth work with the NGOs and children's ministry. She studies and she teaches education psychology, which encourages her to have a workshop ever so often, and I hope more often than that, on learning disabilities of individuals and how parents, teachers, and family members can help improve their teaching and learning at home. Gentlemen, ladies, students, let's welcome to the podium and the platform. This is Janine McEwen Simmons. Last but not least, A guy from the land of my grandfather. Driven individual. A strong passion for social impact and youth empowerment. Born on June 25th. Wow, that's a good day. My daughter is also June 25th. But he was born way down in 2000. I wouldn't tell you what year she was born. That would give away my age. Born on June 25th, 2000, in the picturesque setting of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and now residing in Antigua and Barbuda, this guy, Valiani Tony, comes to us in the field of social sciences, which took him from the Caribbean islands to this excellent place here called USC. It took him from St. Vincent and Antigua to come to USC. Let me bring up USC now. I didn't say to UE, I didn't say to, he came to USC. He holds a graduate, he holds a graduate degree, undergraduate degree, I should say, from the School of Social Sciences, right here at USC, where he achieved the honor of Magna Cum Laude and the top criminology student. He also holds a Bachelor of Science in Criminology and Criminal Justice, reflecting his commitment to understanding and addressing issues of justice and security in society. What sets Valiani apart is his unwavering dedication to the youth of society, particularly those facing advantages, disadvantages, and challenges. He believes in the power of education and mentorship as tools for positive change. Valiani envisions a new framework to uplift and empower young people to overcome obstacles and reach their full potential. Currently pursuing his Master of Science in National Security and Intelligence Studies with a concentration in intelligence, analysis, and management, this young man comes to us today with a great potential for individuals to make a lasting impression and impact to communities and beyond. Let's welcome to the platform, Valiani Tony. Yes, are you hearing me? Okay, so this question is for my mental health. not just for where it sits, but also for my mental health, so I could be comfortable and peaceful. So are we ready to hear from these gentle people? Now, as I said earlier, we're looking to really focus on youth. Over the last 3 weeks in Trinidad and Tobago, we have been really challenged in our brain, in our minds, parents, grandparents, etc., because of the many deaths of the youth. From a baby, months, 3 years old, a whole family of 4 children, and it goes on. Apart from that, there has been a lot of affliction because youth have really found themselves in this cutting space where everybody now seems to be wanting to blame themselves for what is happening in their societies and what's happening in their homes. We realize that even though we do have the church, we do pray, we do say yes in the name of Jesus, we realize that we come to education institutions and we learn English, and we learn science, and we learn hygiene, and we understand the body, but yet there seems to be a problem within our very environment that does not set the stage for wellness. Good people, I'm glad you're here. I don't want you to be here just to say, I came to a mental health program. I want you to be involved. Write down your questions, get ready to participate, get ready to understand where we are going. We are going to be looking at youth, as I said earlier, but we are going to look at it in the context of provision, protection, and participation. We want you to know that there is opportunity for provision in how you can be helped. There is understanding of protection. You can be protected. And of course, what is your context of participation? How do you make this thing real so that your parents can make sure you can get off the bed, go to school, and come back whole. You can go to a party. You can go to the grocery. You could understand. The teachers could work with you. How do we do that? There are two people here who are past students right here. One from the University of Andrews, one of USC, who's going to help you with that participation. So I want to begin this morning as I present to you our first speaker, Ms. Guichard, who is going to address provision and understand how you can be more a part of what's happening in this public world within Trinidad and Tobago. Ms. Guichard, yes, that mic is all yours.
Thank you very much.
It's on.
All right, testing 1, 2, 3.
Well,
sounds like I'm good. Thank you very much, and I am so happy to say all protocols observed, because I think that if I had to go through the protocols list, my mental health may have been affected. But I really want to say a special welcome to the young people among us. And no, that's not some of you sitting in front. It's the persons under 25 years of age, the ones who are sitting in their school uniforms. I'm really heartened to see you here. And today I have been charged on this World Mental Health Day to speak really about mental health as a human right, of course, with a specific emphasis on you, young people, youth, and more so on that aspect of provision, the fact that you have the right to provision of mental health. But when our moderator was speaking, and he shared about the president of Rotary Club, I have my own story to tell, and that's the first thing that came to mind for me way back in the day when I was at university. I wouldn't call the name because it's not USC, and I don't want to be discriminated against. I was doing my first degree, and I remember that there was this guy in our first year of university. I noticed him. Ladies, you all know what I mean, right? I noticed him. Never spoke with him, but I noticed him. I noticed everything about him. And one of the things that really struck me was that he was always surrounded by people. He was the life of the party. I kid you not. He seemed to be so fun, so cool, so networked. And within our second semester of our first year, he committed suicide. I was so baffled. And years later, I always wondered what contributed to that. You know, maybe if he was my friend, I could have helped him. Unfortunately, he did not notice me. But it really struck home for me that with respect to our mental health, we can be surrounded by hundreds of people, and no one notices what is going on with you. There's a particular thing that I want to highlight. The fact that when we hear mental health, we sometimes use that term synonymously with mental health disorder. But really and truly, the former, meaning mental health, encompasses the latter. Because mental health is so much more. It encompasses the emotional, the psychological, the physical, sometimes, well-being, the mental well-being or cognitive well-being of an individual. It's about how we think, how we feel, and how we act, both individually as well as with respect to our interactions with people. And good mental health is not a luxury, and it's not for the chosen few. It is a fundamental aspect of human dignity and well-being. So when the World Health Organization reports that mental health issues are actually the leading cause of disability among young people, and in fact suicide is the second leading cause of death among young people. To me, this is concerning. They estimate that approximately 20% of all young people globally are afflicted by mental health disorders. And to put this in context, this is approximately 240 million persons afflicted by mental health issues. And if we extrapolate this 1 in 5 ratio to Trinidad and Tobago, where in, I think, 2020, the youth population was estimated to be just around 271,000, what it means, or what we can conclude, is that almost 55,000 young persons are affected by mental health disorders in our country. But if we step back a little from those clinical disorders like schizophrenia, like depression, like anxiety, which is really what is often captured in the data, and we consider that our mental health is often compromised when we are faced with situations on a day-to-day basis. And it affects our ability to cope, to process, to control our emotions over a prolonged period of time, then we wonder if the data for Trinidad and Tobago actually needs to be doubled or tripled or even quadrupled in terms of whose mental health is really affected among our group of young people. And young people like yourselves, like ourselves, right? We often face unique challenges regarding mental health, sometimes multiple challenges at once. And if I could just ask the young people in the room to tell me, what are some challenges that young people face? Bullying. So, see, it's green, right? I don't have one green, but this is green. This is your mental health, bullying. What else? Feeling like you're not understood. Anything else? Sorry? Isolation, being isolated. Listen, and in this technological world we're living in, it's really easy to feel isolated. What else? I'm coming back to you. I heard school, and that says it all. And then, right? Maybe I should crumple a little more. And peer pressure. So peer pressure and not being able to, feeling like you're not fitting in. Give me one more. Right, so sometimes your self-esteem, the level of your self-esteem also affects you. This is your mental health. This is the quality of your mental health now. We'll come back to this. Now, as you heard, I am from Families in Action. And what Families in Action does is that we're actually in the business of providing mental health and psychosocial support services, which of course includes counseling. And on a monthly basis, we see upwards of, well, I shouldn't say we see upwards of, but we have upwards of 400, 500 client visits. And just about 1/5 of those visits, so the data, the statistic is probably true, are minors, persons under the age of 18. And then perhaps another 1/5 are persons who are young persons, older youth and younger adults. And I often say that through our work at Families in Action, we often get an inside view, in fact, into many of the tragedies that you all see on TV. And so we often have young people whose mental health has been diminished to this state because of traumatic events, witnessing the murder or the death of a loved one, exploitation, abuse, etc. But we also have young people or parents seek our support because of day-to-day challenges, like those that you described, that affect their well-being. And the pressure to excel academically, the pervasive influence of social media, the burden of societal expectations can actually weigh down on young people's mental health and well-being. And what happens when your mental health is compromised for an extended period of time without having access to support? It can contribute to the development of mental health disorders that affects your quality of life in the long term. And this is why it's imperative that every human being, regardless of their age, sex, nationality, socioeconomic status, and all the other things that characterize us as different, that they have the right to the provision in the context of mental health. And this right to provision, what this means is that you have to have access to mental health services, mental health treatment, and support when you need it. And it is not a mere suggestion, it is an imperative for governments and societies. In fact, it is in the best interest of governments and societies to ensure that its people are physically and mentally healthy. One of the greatest obstacles, and we've heard it mentioned by a couple of the speakers before, to accessing mental health, especially for young people like yourselves, is the stigma that surrounds mental health issues. So going back to my earlier statement about how we synonymize mental health with mental health disorders, we can understand why people stigmatize. Because you tell somebody you're going to a psychologist, you're mad or what? Right? But stigma is truly, it's a powerful force, and it can actually deter people from reaching out for help when they need it the most. It perpetuates a culture of silence. It perpetuates a culture of shame. It makes it difficult for people to discuss their struggles openly. We as a society, we must actively combat this stigma, and we must create an environment where young people feel safe seeking help and sharing their experiences. I must admit, though, that I admire this generation, not this generation, right? I admire y'all too, but this generation in particular. I admire y'all because you seem less afraid to speak about the struggles that you're facing, and I urge you to continue to do so. But beyond stigma, there are practical barriers to accessing mental health provision that we cannot ignore. And affordability remains a significant concern. Many young people and their families simply cannot afford the costs associated with therapy or with medication. And although there are NGOs like Families in Action and state entities like Ministries of Education, Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services that actually offer free services or discounted services, the sad reality is that these services are often oversubscribed and sometimes reactive, resulting in delays to accessing care and support that you need. Sadly, even with being oversubscribed, there are many young people and their families who are not even aware of the services, and they're not even aware of the importance of taking care of their mental health and their well-being. So where do you fit in? Let me tell you where you fit. You have a vital role to play in advocating for our mental health rights. You need to use your voices, your creativity, your digital platforms, and you all know about digital platforms, right? I still on the Facebook, right? To spark conversation, to challenge stereotypes, to promote well-being. Be brave, speak up. By sharing your stories and your experiences, you can humanize mental health issues and demonstrate that they affect people from all walks of life. We can engage with policymakers, advocating for increased funding for resources for mental health. We can support organizations that provide mental health support to those in need. And in essence, we can break down the barriers that hinder the realization of the right to mental health provision. To promote mental health provision effectively, we must focus on prevention and early intervention. So this is why I applaud USC for focusing on the young people today. This includes fostering a culture of well-being, educating youth about mental health, and creating safe spaces for open conversation. By addressing issues at their root, we can reduce the need for crisis intervention and make mental health support more accessible to all. So where does that leave us as I close? Well, we know that mental health is unquestionably a universal human right, and it is our collective responsibility to ensure that this right is upheld. As young people, you are not only the beneficiaries of this right, but also the advocates who can drive meaningful change. Stand together, raise your voices, and let's create a world where everyone, regardless of age, background, or circumstances, has mental health provision and the opportunity to thrive mentally and emotionally. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gishad. Very interesting, and we will come back to that, some points that you need to raise. But as we continue on to the protection with WPC Goddard, we welcome her to the
Good morning.
To share.
Testing. All right, I'm on. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I just want to emphasize, and I hope that we can give USC another round of applause, because this is indeed, as always, very innovative and cutting edge and forward thinking. And I love to work with USC because of that innovation that streams so flowing out of this university. And yes, thank you. I think he's working on my mental health as we speak. Right, so I'm being minded of my time. All right, so I'll be as quick as I can. So we are here to talk about mental health as a human right, a universal human right, and we are focusing on youth. And I'm still semi-youth, what do you say? Kinda, yeah. So I feel privileged to be on this panel this morning. As a youth growing up, I remember around the age of 16, I attempted to take my life. And at that time, mental health, anything, was red flags and you're a crazy person. And the only response was you need to be in St. Anne's. So till about the age of 28 was the time that I actually really got the help that I needed. So for about 10, 11 years, I had to walk around with this suppressed emotion and these overwhelming feelings. And the trick is that once you achieve things, they think you're okay. So I learned that pretty quickly. And I became very high functional, and I achieved a lot. I always had good grades. I was always excelling academically, in sports, otherwise, in anything that I do. So no one knew. I became very proficient at masking. And I'm seeing that still happening among our youth. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this youth club and running youth organizations, youth serving organizations, because I realize from my own experience that young people feel that stigma and that discrimination so strong at such a delicate time in their lives. It's very difficult for them to wrap their minds around this is normal. Society makes it very easy for you to feel abnormal or insane as a young person if you struggle with anything mental health. And I'm so happy that we have peer counselors here today, because I know that you would do justice with this information when you return. And I just want to say that, we youth are considered already a vulnerable group. They're dealing with so much, especially in the age of adolescence. That's those teenage years where so much is happening biologically, so much is happening with your environment, socially. I would not like to be a 16-year-old in the age of TikTok. No, it is stressful. And because they're already vulnerable, the challenge of mental health issues and any sort of struggle adds to that, or it increases that vulnerability. And my role and the role of our organizations in protection is to provide those safe spaces, provide those environments that young people can come and have dialogue, that they can share and access resources, they can reach out to persons that are trusted and that can effectively guide them to help. Because we also have a culture where, because of TikTok, everybody thinks that they are a mental health champion, they're an advocate, they are a counselor. I would like to tell the young people here before I move on, please do not be a hero. Don't try to be a hero. Know where to get help. Know where to send your peers for help. Your intervention must be guided by knowledge. And that's one of the things that we aim for. The Police Youth Club originally was designed as a crime prevention tool by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And it has expanded so much over the years. In 2024, the Police Youth Club organization would be celebrating 50 years in existence. St. Joseph, on the other hand, has only been in existence for about 11 years. And thus far, we have been able to really open up the environment of inclusivity and diversity and open conversations and really provide a space for young people to heal. We are not a sports club. And I think that's a misconception that's out there, that the Police Youth Club, you also align it with football, basketball, cricket, swimming. So we are about holistic development of the youth. And I think that mental health issues are now taking the forefront of our discussions at all of our police youth clubs. We have approximately 97 across the islands of Trinidad and Tobago. And the discussions among the leaders are always geared towards improving the overall well-being of our members, building their character, and improving their mental health. And it's such a heartwarming time that I'm seeing we have a room full of professionals and young people that are willing to come out and discuss both the improvements that we've experienced and the challenges, because there still exists some, of course, towards improving even further. So when we talk about us and protection, one of the greatest issues, as identified before by my colleague here, was that stigma and that discrimination. And I want to encourage other youth-serving organizations or youth-led organizations to really emphasize the need to have that open dialogue, to educate their peers and provide spaces that the young people can really actively dispel the stigmas around mental health and mental health issues. And too often when we hear mental health, we think about suicide immediately. There are so many young people that are actively, just like myself, actively engaging in life and performing their activities on a daily basis, seemingly doing well, that are struggling. And no one is looking at those persons. So those are some of the areas that we try to emphasize on. Yes, we know the ones that are displaying the signs. We can clearly identify them. But I think there is a silent, vulnerable group, or a silent group of people that are at high risk because they are high functional. And those are one of the groups that we try to really reach out to because they are less likely to seek help. And I'm happy that there's so much more information now, and I'm encouraging young people to use their platforms again. And you would hear it throughout the day. Use your platforms, use your voice, and get the message of mental health out there so that your peers can seek the help that they need. So our Police Youth Club services both males and females. And then when we talk about mental health, there is this idea, I'm not sure exactly where it came from. There's this idea that boys are more affected than girls. And that is I know we could debate that back and forth all day. And I may hear some conflicting ideas in the room. But our focus is not on identifying who is more at risk or who is trying to access help more. We want everyone at risk to feel the freedom to speak, to have a space where they know that they can reach out for help. It's not about identifying, we are serving this group or that group. We want everyone, every young person, to understand that there are spaces that are safe for them to explore what they feel and get the help that they need. So mental health is indeed an undeniable universal health right, a universal human right, and that is valuable for your overall health. And I just want to encourage all of us to focus on the role of your organization, not just, let me say, point fingers, because we do quite a lot of that. Point fingers at who should be doing more and who is not doing enough. But if each of us as organizations and as individuals and as a community collectively do our part to ensure that we are educating each other about mental health and that we are guiding and providing those avenues and the safety for us to explore and solve some of the challenges that we are experiencing, that indeed we can get to where we are seeking to get to as it relates to a society that has balance and that where people are free to explore their emotions in a healthy way. So I just want to make that plea to our peer counselors as well, to please encourage your peers, seek help. I love the dramatization that went before, where the young ladies gave a very realistic view of what happens. And I have encountered young people like that before, situations like that. And the number one reason why they succumb to the challenges is because of that lack of available, or the lack of information of what is available to them. So please, your voice can help someone. It can possibly save a life. Thank you.
I'm having some difficulties here. I'm not sure if you have the same difficulty like I have, but hearing Gishad and now hearing Goddard and looking at the skit, how do you know, or rather, when do you know that there's a problem? You see, if I have a pain, I can say, Mommy, the pain here, or I get a cut, or I go to a doctor, he says, okay, the heart, the liver, the air, the eye, very specific. But when you sit down in your room, either you have tobacco or you ain't get the skirt, the dress, or you can go to the mall and the party. I in the kitchen, or I outside doing something, how do you, who inside the bedroom, can really say you have a mental health issue? And that is what is coming to me. I think we need to have a forum, maybe next couple of months. We can't wait till this October 10th. Are you hearing me, committee? We can't wait till October 10th. We have to come back here by January, maybe, and look for some definitions. How we can really say, I have a problem, because here is this lady, big policewoman, but having mental health issues and masking it. I mean, she going up in the circle, she getting awards, that kind of thing. But beneath that, how do you define it? And I want us to think about it as we go through and see if our next speaker, Janine, if she could help us with some of that definition in her presentation. Huh? I'm just saying you could. I hope you can help us in some of that definition.
So.
Yes, as we've encouraged. And we will come back to this in terms of our discussion after she and Vayani speaks. Go ahead, Janine.
Okay, good morning. All protocols observed. Listening to the two previous panelists, we have that same problem at university, where we're in the classroom as teachers, and we do have students with disabilities, but of course, some show up, some are silent. So we have to look out for them. But before I go into my discussion, I'd like to identify some disabilities, all right? Autism, the ASD. We are looking at deafness, deafblindness, emotional disturbance, hearing impaired, intellectually disabled, or before known as mental retardation, multiple disabilities, other health impairments, specific learning disabilities, speech and language impairment, traumatic brain injury, visual impairment, and which include blindness. So according to Macmillan and Jarvis 2013, students with disabilities are at increased risk experiencing mental health issues. So besides having a disability, added to that, they will experience mental health issues. All right? Many people with physical disabilities experience traumatic stress due to painful treatments received from orthopedic conditions, as well as depression and anxiety from isolation and which they will encounter. And physicians will tell them that their mental health is due to the pain and the stress is a byproduct of that, all right? And they would not address the mental health problem. So we have young people with disabilities reported poorer mental health than the non-disabled person. However, the relationship was moderated by both social adversity and social support, right? Again, we need to be aware of what the disabilities are and who we have in our class, working on campus as well, all right? So when we look at social support, of course, it would help curb some of the mental health issues ensue. All right, the findings that would have been done, highlighted, will be the importance of developing a policy or looking at our practice strategies to improve mental health, right? So at this point in time, we'll be looking at some, interventions to promote social support at the time of the disability when it was acquisitioned. So at our university, I would like us to pass to the president and the provost for us to be a little more sensitized as well, because I had a student in my class who got an F, and he came to my class. Let's call him Sam. And Sam, I noticed one time that he was on the spectrum, right? You know, they have a rhythm, probably the way they walk, the way they move, you can see it. And he came to me after, right up in my face, right? So, you know, that social distancing, that social aspect, they don't have awareness of. But I knew what I was dealing with. And he said, Miss, last term, I did not do too well, and the teacher didn't listen. So I'm telling you, and he told me what was happening with him. And again, his speech too wasn't as fluent as, so I said, okay. I said, we would work together. Anytime you have a problem, come to me. I was sensitive to the situation. So we need to have an awareness of disabilities. We need to be able to identify to actually help the students. One way we can do it is have support to protect our disabled students on campus, instituting a support unit, all right? Once we can get the resources to help treat the minor mental health issues as we see it fit. But the government of Trinidad and Tobago has a draft. They would have draft Disabled Bill 2023, so that they are working on currently. They would have drafted, sent it out to the other units so that they can cover every aspect of the disability, all right? So they are trying to at least have a council now for persons with disability for matters connected therewith. As a community of learners, we need to improve the social development of all. Because in my class, I would always tell the students, you need to network, you need to talk, you need to connect with somebody. You cannot go through university all by yourself. You have to talk. If you have a problem, speak to the lecturer, speak to somebody, find a mentor, because it will help with them, processing and probably with problems that will arise. Okay? Again, I looked at what again we have in Trinidad to help, and we have the Equal Opportunity Act, even though it's more towards physical. When we look at it, we'll get towards physical, and that act will cover, they cover mental or psychological disease and disorders as well. So there are avenues, or there are things that the government have to help with the mental disorders of individuals. However, with disabilities and mental health, it's a bit hard, because I made some calls and I was redirected about 4 times, because they deal with mental health specifically in adults, mental health specifically in children. Okay, what about mental health with disabled individuals? I got the runner wrong, but there is work to be done, and they are working on it, because I met with the Autistic Society just yesterday, and she said they are working on it, because every time they read something, it's about the physical. But now, she said the government has a 2030 vision that they are trying to encapsulate all of the disabilities as much as possible, especially with inclusion. When we inclusion meaning to understanding that students around the disabled person would understand. There was a particular secondary school, and this individual, he was high on the spectrum, but very brilliant, of course. And the students couldn't understand why he had so much facts, why he had something to say all the time. And they would taunt him daily. And his parents came in to talk to them so that, he could be a little more comfortable in school. Well, that was the worst thing they did. They had to take him out of school eventually, because there was no way he could have survived, because the children didn't understand. And the teachers as well started to say, didn't have the public care in the world to actually sensitize themselves as well to the disabilities in the classroom. So, with that being said, preventing mental health issue is not a thing that we cannot do. We could help prevent, we could help ensue some of the methods used to rehabilitate some of the individuals. While it is important to guarantee intervention, in every case there are strategies that can be implemented to reduce the risks associated with negative outcomes and promote optimal health care among our population. Of course, this is by us being sensitive to our disabled individuals around. It is important to know that resources as well as individual needs and circumstances vary. we need to help in every way. But Trinidad and Tobago has set up about 27 clinics across Trinidad, 6 in Tobago, right? So we have attached to the hospitals, we have mental health clinics, also, let's say clinics, personal clinics besides. So there are places that they can go. But again, mental health and disability, they are taboo, they are over here. When you look at in the Caribbean, right? So it still has its stigmatism, as they say. But once we are sensitized to what it is, what to look for, we'll be able to help our society in some way or the other, all right? Starting from teachers, school, students, and having programs every semester, every year on our workshops helping to bring that closure to disabilities and mental health, because these individuals as well, they function in society because one, with the help of their parents. Some parents go and they research because of the frustration of not having help. They go and research and they realize they can come up with scales. Let's say it's an autistic child, come up with scales. 1 if you're happy, 5 if you're sad. 1 if you need to be quiet, whisper. 3 if you need to talk loud. At 5, let me know so I can take you outside. So sometimes in the malls or wherever we go, we'll see children behaving bad, as you would say, quote and unquote. And it's because their filters are not working like ours. Their filters they are hearing everything, all right? There's a child we encounter, and he will cry, and the mother say, rain is going to fall. And we're like, rain and fall? Rain fell 15 minutes after. So he was hearing whatever it is in the atmosphere, right? So it's about understanding and bringing that understanding, using the facilities that we have. Again, money will be an issue because then we'll have to, if our clinics don't have provision for disability, we'll have to pay outside other than to get our children, to help our children. So the challenge is still facing mental disability, being disabled, and mentally healthy at the same time. So we, in ourselves, can familiarize ourselves with it, okay? So remember, each one reach one, and we'll be able to transform our society at some point in time.
So, Mr. Provost, remember for what we having in the, what do you call that, with the new orientation. Please have this lady at orientation, this faculty member, because we, who are supposed to be the healthy one, we need to hear that, because we're the one who would end up with the mental health. Because when we cannot deal with the autistic or the dyslexic, are you hearing me? Or the ADHD, we behave worse. We behave worse. But Robert, you should stay home. You come quiet here. Who paid for you to come here? We need help. So I think at orientation, it's a good time to have all the students together and let them know how to behave intelligently, balanced, where we have other people who are different. And that's the word we're looking at today. Different, isn't that so, Miss Janine? Yes, different. And I think we have to live, because we can't understand different, you know. You understand that? Even some of you want to know how my bow tie. That different, and some of you say, oh God, look at him, you know. Somebody shaved their head, and oh gosh, like that bald head there, you know, that guy there, he different. Because you have hair, so we always are criticizing what? Help me here. Difference. And we need to know how to. Thank you so much. And I'm really going to put a plug for you for orientation to make sure the Provost puts you on that panel. on the day, because we need to know how to balance and get our behaviors right and not treat people who are differently abled differently. Yes? Come on, put your hands together for Miss Janine. Yes. And let me get your full name here. So I see Janine, You know I'm forgetting him already. McEwan Simmons. Yes. So last but not least, he's not least at all, we have, as I said, from the land of my grandfather, Mr. Vayani Tony, and he's going to conclude this panel as he also adds in context of participation for mental health as a human right.
Hello, everyone. Before I can actually present, I do prefer to stand, so I will use the podium. So give me 2 seconds in Vincentian time.
Are we going to have some drama here? I hope.
No. As I just did, I stood up. Can we all stand? Let's stretch. Just stretch. Just stretch to the roof. Just stretch. You guys need to wake up a bit. Just stretch. Hands up, hands out. Turn a little. Wake up yourself. Wake up yourself. Wake up yourself. Right? Then you can have your seat. So before I begin, I'm Vayani Tony. I'm a recent graduate from USC, Bachelor's Criminal Justice, and now pursuing my Master's in National Security. The topic I was given, I found it funny because Officer Williams pointed out, she mentioned regarding the male and mental health, and I presented on the male perspective on mental health. So all right. So before I officially start, I must comment. Recently, 2 Fridays ago, I must say, while living on a dormitory, the men's club president, Mr. John Isidore, he started a series where the men will join on a Friday night to discuss various issues that they are facing. All right. And last semester, Did Merit also started a high-value man series where he invited various persons to, the president was one of them, to come on the dorm and talk to the high-value men of society. That's myself and the other men there. And our males here as well, all right? So he was able to teach us how to basically garner our skills and, use our mental capacity, mental health in a positive way. All right, so I see it's a domino effect where I am now standing here to discuss from the male perspective of mental health. All right, so this issue, or this topic is a matter of utmost importance because we don't see persons or we don't hear persons come before a crowd to discuss mental health, especially the males of society. All right, the females, you all are important. You guys run the world, as the song says. All right, so this issue transcends boundaries, it transcends generations, and also gender. All right, so I'm here to tell you that mental health is not just an issue; it's a universal human right. All right, and I want to focus our attention on our youths and our youth at heart, and the youths of society here, especially from a male perspective. So, and the fundamental right to participation, which is one of the 3 P's of human rights, all right? So our youths, you present here, the peer counselors. Growing up, I was a peer counselor. I was a student counselor. I kept myself active and busy when it comes to the whole aspect of as helping students or helping young people garner their skills or basically use their God-given skills in a positive way, all right? So I ensured and I made myself very active. Right? Some may say some call me the vice principal of my secondary school because I was involved in everything. Because I said to myself, why not? All right, the more I'm involved in positive engagements, the better my mental health should be. That was a lie. All right, because in my case, I use it as a distraction from the whole reality of things. So I would keep myself. So I was the president of the Student Council, president of the Peer Council, president of the Heritage Club. So I kept distracting myself, and I realized that young people do that today. Right? They keep themselves busy by distracting themselves from the reality of things, and that's not a safe thing when it comes to mental health. All right? If you're using your skills to, let's say, better yourself, don't better yourself by forgetting the actual issue at hand. All right, young people? So that's what I want to say before as I start officially. No. So in the context of mental health, it's not a privilege, it's a right. It's a right that belongs to each and every one of you, regardless of your age, your gender, and where you come from. And it's not just a right to exist, it's a right to thrive. Let's focus on one particular aspect of this right, the right to participation. It's more than just a fancy phrase. It's a powerful tool for change. It means that you have the right to be heard. To be what? Heard. Young people, peer counselors, to be what? Heard. Come on, that's your job now, to make sure the students are heard. To be what? Heard. Correct. All right, it assists you in making decisions for your own lives and the right to shape the policies and initiatives that affect your well-being today. All right? So the right to participation takes on immense significance. It means that your voices matter, that your experience matter, and that your ideas matter. It means that you don't have to suffer in silence as many of us do. So it's not here to make you suffer in silence. It's here to let you know that your voice matters. All right? So breaking free from this stigma requires courage. And it requires a realization that seeking help when you need it is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to your strength. It's about recognizing that you have the right to participate in conversations about your mental health openly, without judgment or shame. Your experiences, your struggles, your triumphs, they all matter. All that you go through in each life matters to everyone around you, all right? So this whole aspect of mental health, it shapes our future, whether in a positive light or negative light. When you participate in discussions about mental health, you pave the way for a more compassionate world. I believe if the Caribbean on a whole focus on mental health, we'll see a reducing crime, we'll see a reducing depression, suicide, we'll see a reducing self-harm. Once the Caribbean leaders, administrators, whoever, put more focus on the aspect of why are students acting the way they are acting? Why are students involved in delinquent acts? I believe that we will see the whole, let's say the ingredient behind everything. The main ingredient is the decline in their mental health. All right? So I want to talk about the heartbeats of our global community, the dreamers, the innovators, change makers, and future leaders, yourself, our youth, and youth at heart. All right? Within their boundless potential lies a unique set of challenges when it comes to mental health. The weight of academic success that our panelists mentioned before. You are here in university, in secondary school, in primary school, and the weight of that alone is it's a lot, right? And some of us cannot deal with the pressure of academic success because our parents tell us, go to school and learn well and get all A's and so forth. My mom, she's online watching me now. She ensured that she hammered me, The education is the way out of poverty, but sometimes education can be the way into the aspect of poverty because you try your best, you try your hardest to gain A's, and you forget that your mental health, you can't get A's if your mental health is to the ground, right? You can't get A's if your mental health is not even an A+ standard. So your mental health is always important when it comes to education, and you have to balance yourself in this whole category within your development. So by recognizing mental health as a universal human right, we commit ourselves to nurturing the emotional well-being of our youth, ensuring that they are not just surviving but thriving and contributing positively to our society. So participation. One of the three pillars of human rights alongside protection and provision. This right means that every individual, look at my time, right? Every individual has the power to actively engage in decisions that affect their lives. So by involving in these discussions, males, and getting the support system to then push for these discussions, it cherishes and it motivates your experiences in a positive way, all right? So breaking the stigma is our mission, especially from a male perspective. So society has imposed rigid expectations of men and boys. Let's focus on the men here now, men and boys, because they tell us, not to cry, to don't show weakness and so forth. And just Friday, we had a discussion just Friday gone about this same issue. The weight of stoicism, the fear of vulnerability, and the stigma surrounding mental health challenges have silenced many males. Many males today, they are afraid to speak up because they may be viewed as weak. And that alone, you might find a guy in the classroom just quiet. Maybe ask him what's going on, right? Judgment and shame runs deep within every youth in society because of what society instilled on us from a young age to where we are today, all right? So we are fostering an environment where our youth can openly discuss their mental health as we are here today, without judgment or shame, right? For the males, this transformation demands education, demands awareness, it demands a commitment to promote a more inclusive understanding of masculinity. When our young men realize that they have the right to participate in conversation about mental health, they can break free from the chains of silence and seek the support they so rightfully deserve. So how can your males, our youths, our females, solve this? One, so peer counselors, note these points as I call them out. Note these points. One, break the silence. The first step to acknowledge that it's okay to talk about your mental health is encouraging open discussions, open conversations about feelings and emotions. Create a safe and non-judgmental space for men and girls to express themselves without fear of being perceived as weak. Two, challenge stereotypes. Challenging stereotypes. Address societal stereotypes that dictate how youth should behave, how boys should behave, how girls should behave. Challenge the notion that youth should always be stoic, unemotional, and strong. Recognize that vulnerability within all spectrums is a sign of courage and not weakness. 3, seek professional help. It's essential for youth to understand that seeking professional help is a sign of strength. Encourage individuals to reach out to therapists, counselors, or mental health professionals when needed, or peer counselors, youths, support each other, all right? So normalize the idea that mental health support is as important as physical care. So those who are involved in the gym, those who are involved in club, this is as important as your other engagements. 4, promote self-care. Encourage self-care practices such as exercise, mindfulness, meditation, gets away from the social media, and hobbies that provide relaxation and stress relief. Because as we know, as youths, as myself as well, TikTok is a dangerous place. We are more involved in TikTok in today's world. Am I lying? Am I lying, seriously, students? Because I see you guys on TikTok, and not you guys here, but I see your classmates. It's a popular app because it's a way for us to distract ourselves from the reality of things. So remove ourselves from the social media can help us be better males, better females, better youth in society, right? 4 or 5, where was 4 or 5? 5, beautiful, you're paying attention. Build a support network. Establish a strong support network of friends, trustworthy friends, family, and mentors. Youth should feel comfortable reaching out to these individuals when they are facing mental health challenges. A strong support system can provide emotional assistance and validation. Coming to the end. 6, raise awareness. Participate in mental health awareness campaign like this one. And by openly discussing mental health issues, youth can reduce stigmas and create a more accepting environment for themselves and others. 7, educate and inform. Provide education on mental health topics, including the signs of mental health disorders like depression and anxiety. Knowledge empowers individuals to recognize when they may need help. All right, 8, set realistic expectations. Set realistic expectations. Encourage youths to set realistic expectations for themselves in all aspects of life. Whether it's career, relationships, or personal goals, unrealistic expectation can lead to stress and anxiety. 9, practice mindfulness. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness techniques can help youth stay present in the moment and reduce the impact of negative thoughts and stress. Encourage practices like deep breathing, meditation, running, jogging. Lead by example. 10. Lead by example. Youths who are open about their mental health struggles and how they have sought help can inspire others to do the same. Leading by example helps reduce the stigma surrounding mental health. 11. Empower peer support, such as peer counselors. Foster peer support groups where youth can share their experiences and coping strategies with others who may be facing similar challenges. Peer support can be incredibly valuable. And lastly, promote a balanced lifestyle. Encourage a balanced lifestyle that includes a healthy diet, regular exercise, sufficient sleep, and limiting the use of substances like alcohol and drugs, which can, this word right here normally throws me off, but I'll pronounce it so. Exacerbate, that's the right word? Exacerbate, right, beautiful, see, mental health, right, mental health issues. So in conclusion, mental health is an indisputable universal human right. And our youths, you present here, including our young males, lay a justifiable claim to this right. So by focusing on this right to participation, we are arming our youth with the tools to seize control of their mental health, well-being, to dismantle the shackles of stigma, and to lead us toward a future where mental health is not just a priority, but a sacred treasure. As a global community, it is our duty to provide the resources, support, and platforms for our youth to actively shape their mental health landscape. In doing so, we are not just respecting their rights, we are paving the way for a brighter, more compassionate, and mentally healthier world for generations to come. So let us stand in solidarity, ensuring that every young person present here and beyond knows their mental health is sacred, and they have the unequivocal right to participate fully in the journey toward well-being and fulfillment. Remember, mental health is your undeniable right. What did I say? Mental health is your undeniable right. And participation is your undeniable part to upholding that right. Together we can craft a world where every young person, every male, every female can understand that their mental health holds immeasurable value, where they are not only heard, but also supported and empowered to lead lives overflowing with happiness, fulfillment, and purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tony. So we have it here. Quite a number of questions. Suppose you looking for answers. Some of you have suggestions. But another thing came up to my mind again as he spoke. I keep hearing these two words: mental health, mental health. But is that a disease? Is it a sickness? Because we are not really identifying what really is the issue, or are the issues. But it's a word that covers quite a circumference, or rather a proliferation of ideas and opportunities and subjects. So we need to really break that down a little bit to what really are we talking about. Is it behavior? Is it dysfunction? And I think we need to, again, come back to the table to redefine and bring definition to what really are the issues that are present. So I'm going to open the floor for a few minutes, I should say for minutes, for you to grab a mic. There's a mic in the center here. Come quickly and ask a question today. In the meanwhile, while they're coming, WPC, tell me, when you are within your, don't let me stop you from coming in. I'm just making sure we flow in, that there's no gaps, because we are on YouTube, we are public. So I want to make sure there are no gaps here. So tell me, while they're coming, tell me, within your youth group, how do you identify that there are issues that needs to be addressed in this context of mental health?
Well, of course, that's always a challenge, identifying and diagnosing. But we do have some wonderful help from some key stakeholders like our goodly Dr. Niles and his team of students. We also have help from a training company called the Officium Training that also provides that cognitive support that we need to effectively identify those students or those members that need that additional support. One of the things that usually brings out some sort of a challenge, it's usually conflict. And it's one of the reasons we've developed the Conflict Resolution Center, because we realize that conflict is increasing, it's existing everywhere, and people's inability to manage conflict seems to be a bit of a challenge. So usually in the midst of conflict, it's a youth organization, so there'll be a lot of that. In the midst of conflict, we usually get to see those abilities or inabilities to manage the emotions that cause the conflict. And those are usually some easy red flags for us to really pull out and support that, or isolate for a bit and support that individual until they are able to come back and reintegrate to the group.
Okay, hold, pause there. So we have two people standing there. Yes, identify your name. Just give a name and go ahead.
I'm Dr. Maria Gomes, and I'm with the Faculty of Social Sciences.
Okay.
I'm a social worker. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. Okay, the question I had, and then this lovely young lady is coming up after me. I wanted to find out if USC has a policy in terms of working with students who are neurodivergent or have disabilities or challenges in terms of their mental health and physical disabilities as well. If there is a policy in terms of extra time and all those other things that that you mentioned. All right, thank you.
Okay, you want to ask a question one time? You're too short?
Hi, my name is Shani Baya, and my question is, in cases where it is hard to talk to your parents, how do you go to them and ask them, tell them that you need mental help? Thank you.
Okay, so let's deal with the first one. The first one about policies. That is a little out of my purview, Joe. So I think we could ask Janine.
Yes. When some students will come, we had a student named Trisha Bruce. She was legally blind. She could have seen, but she was legally blind. And we put things in place for her so that she'll be able to function normal through school exam time. We got somebody to sit and read with her, and she answered her questions as well. So there's a policy in place.
So that policy, is it one where people in Mr. Public can apply to the university knowing that they're going to get support because they have a disability, or is it a policy from within of how you handle students who have already registered?
Well, once they registered, and some will come and say they have a disability, and we deal with it and treat with it then from admissions, registrar's office. Yeah.
When I used to also be at University of the West Indies, and in the form that they fill out, there is that little box that says, do you have a disability? There will be an X. No, we don't have one. But I remember, I sat an exam, I went to the exam room, counted the students sitting down in front there, looked at the package and said, but wait, a student missing. Okay, where is this student? So I'm here frantically trying to find this student, only to realize student in another room, because they went to the office to say, I have a disability. But you don't put it on the form, you go and tell somebody because you don't want it to be known to the entire student services population, all those people who are going through finance and all those, that you have a disability. But you have to have that time for exams. And even for me now, as when I give you a paper and I say, I want that in 2 weeks' time, a person with disability is not going to present that in 2 weeks' time. And I had to learn that the hard way. So I think we need to really work out those policies in writing and clearly defining, yes, if you must bring a doctor's letter, you must establish that you have to see what it is, and so therefore we can either put you in a room, lecturers can know that you need extra weeks or days, and maybe the formatting of papers, how is that done? So this is something we could work at, yes? And I could...
Yes, we could work on that.
Okay, very good. One more thing before you speak. The parent, how do you speak to a parent who you don't trust in telling them that you have a mental issue or you have a problem? Who wants to take that? Ms. Gishard?
But I would really like it if you could repeat the question. Right. So the question is, if it's hard to speak with your parents, how do you go to them to share with them that you have a mental health issue? And I always like to keep it real. If it's hard to speak with them, then it's going to be hard to cross that hurdle to actually go to them and share with them about your mental health issue. However, when you're going to your parent, you try to be as honest as possible. And you share how you've been struggling based on the challenges that you are facing. And it would even be good for you to share what type of support you need from them. Whether you need support from them, whether you feel you need to see someone external to the household. But it's very important for you to be honest, to be clear, and to not beat around the bush when you're speaking with them. How they receive it, no one on the outside can really control that. But you need to be honest and clear.
I think when mommy and daddy tell you, I like how you're looking in that dress, that's a good time to talk. When their heart is a little more pliable, because they're complimenting you. So you could say, hey, I like the dress, but you see under the dress, mommy, I don't feel too good. That's a good time to put that in right there. That how. Yes, ma'am.
Good day, everyone. My name is Nico Shallow. I'm dealing with the school and the learning environment. A lot of the times, person come into the learning environment and they have their different temperaments. And also, some are introverts, some are extroverts. So they come into the learning environment and have challenges relating because it's a level of psychological bullying that happens in the environment where we dress, maybe even of themselves. Sometimes, and I'm talking from experience, the lecturer themselves or the teacher themselves is kind of agreeing with the class because the person is an anomaly as far as they're concerned in the environment because they are not part of. And I'm asking what could be done or what is being done to help in the classroom. If I come in with my temperament and I have challenge meshing, or the child have challenge becoming connected, what is being done and what can be done to help in that environment? Because you have persons that, and I know a student, let me just share, a student did an experiment. They dress a particular way. And they were being ostracized. So they decided a day to dress how everybody else is dressed at the school. And that was the day people spoke to them because they were dressed like how they dress. And that is what is happening. And these are some of the challenges that persons face. And sometimes the lecturer or the teacher themselves encourage the behavior, and I'm asking what could be done in the education aspect, in the teaching aspect, when you're a lecturer a teacher to help to not encourage when a person is an introvert, an extrovert, they have different temperaments. What can be done?
Let's take Vayani. You want to take that as a student? You're a student.
I'll first say, I'm a youth leader in church as well. I normally tell my youth when it comes to them being present in society, present in a class, or basically being present, it's better for them to stand out, right? If it means you are standing out and you have basically you yourself, just stand out, all right? When it comes to being a youth, following the crowd or following the trend always leads to a negative result, right? So in the case where with a student, I'll go with the student for an teaching aspect. So the student, that experiment basically will show them how society views someone who is, let's say, quote unquote, normal, or as exactly, and someone who is worshipped, right? So as a youth, I encourage you guys to just stand out. If it means you are dressed with let's say this is a brand. What do you guys say? The outdated brands or whatever, outdated brands or the not the latest trend, right? Just stand out, and you will see how far you will go when it comes to someone else who is in the same situation will see you standing out. So you are basically leading by example, as I said earlier, leading by example. When it comes to the teaching, I realized I myself had that same issue growing up where my speech, right? In secondary school, I had a well, I probably still do have it, a speech impediment where my speech, I race, I talk swiftly, right? So I was always bullied by the teacher telling me, oh, shut your mouth, don't speak again. All that, my entire primary school life was that bullying from the teachers. And it took a student who had the same issue as me to tell me that, how far they got with that impediment, because in their time, they arrived where they became a motivational speaker, right? So that made me realize that having a let's say, an issue or a what does it put it as? having an issue basically doesn't mean you're not perfect or you're not worthy. So youth should always just stand out in society in everything that they do and see how much of an impact they can be to that same teacher and to your friends around. That's what I will say to that point.
Thank you. But one of the things also within this school environment, we have student support services, and within that component there is a psychologist. So there's a means that you can access. And I know also for CUC, there's also a psychologist. So there are people in place where you can find help and get information. Next question.
Good day, everyone. My name is Azealia Bernard, and my question is, what is the difference between mental health issues and mental health disabilities, and how you could identify if you have any of them?
Next question. Oh, you have a question. You just standing. Okay. Oh, you were supposed to. Okay. How do you distinguish between mental health issues and mental health disabilities? Wow. How much time do we have, madam? Because that question could go for the rest of the afternoon, or we could have lunch and come back. But let's take a few minutes on it. Panelists, tell me, and that's what I've been asking, actually, when I started saying, how do we define this? There's a need for definition as to what really are we talking about. Because when we talk about mental issues, what is this being referred to as against the disability, which has to do with the breakdown of the psyche that manifests in a particular behavior that we call a disorder? I see you take up your mic. Go ahead.
Yes, I did, because I actually referenced it in a little way when I spoke. And the fact that we use mental health and mental health disorders interchangeably we often do the same with mental health issues and mental health disorders. And really and truly, perhaps there's no difference, but definitely mental health disorders, you can find them classified. In the DSM, they tend to be clinical diseases or disorders, and those would be things like schizophrenia, depression, anxiety disorders, and the list goes on and on. Even substance abuse is considered a mental health disorder. When I use the term mental health issue, what I really look at is our inability to cope sometimes with the day-to-day challenges that we face, because our mental health is really that balance between our emotional, our psychological, and our mental, right? So sometimes on a day-to-day basis, there may be an issue, a challenge that affects that balance, and it may go on for a little while, and it affects the way that you cope, it affects the way that you feel, it affects the way that you act. However, with talking with someone, with therapy, that kind of thing, it may be something that you can alleviate. Whereas with a mental health disorder, many times you need to have, those are considered psychiatric disorders as well. You may need to have medication administered. So that's my take on it.
Before you go, you could also use medication for psychological issues rather than also, because psychiatric has to do more with the brain and how it works in terms of how it affects the body, as against psychology, which has to do with the brain, how it affects behavior. So for both of them, you could do pharmacology. But I think it's important, again, for us to keep reading. And this is a continuing conversation, you know, for us to come to really some conclusion. Yes, WPC, yes, you have your mic.
Yes, I just wanted to add a little bit, because I noted the point of your question where you asked, how do you know if you have an issue or if you have a disorder? I would say educate yourself as best as you can. Find trusted sources, read and understand exactly what these things are. Attend forums like these, of course, where you can access information from reliable sources and professionals, as well as don't take anything lightly. If you feel as though some sort of behavior or something that you're dealing with is disrupting your normal life or is posing to be a challenge beyond what you can normally handle, please seek help. You may not need to diagnose it yourself, but someone can help you diagnose if the problem is very serious, or it may be something simple that you can just be assisted with working through, but seek help anytime you feel that you need to.
Okay, go ahead, last question.
Hi, good day. I'm Anastasia. I wanted to ask about the question that the young lady said earlier. You said to be honest with your parents, right? But for instance, I had a friend, she came and told her parents about how she was feeling, and they were telling her that back in our day, they will usually compare how it used to be back then to how it is now, and the youths these days will feel like they shouldn't be feeling this because it's not normal to say. It's like, how do you expect them to like react, or say how to go about it if it's like not normal? How the parents will like tell them about it? How do they react to it?
Before you answer, and I hope you hear me here. When you were born, they checked to see you have 10 fingers and the eyes, the 10 toes. Everything had to be perfect. And when you're growing up, I didn't have a child to have imperfection and go through any problems. I am training my child always to think and be positive. So once you come and tell me you have a problem, look, just get yourself back in a room and behave yourself. So tell me, you could understand the problem.
Listen, I smiled because that's why I was hesitant to answer the question to begin with, because we are saying to be honest and whatnot, but we don't have control of the entire situation. Because at the end of the day, if parents have a certain mindset, the only thing that changes that is education, right? And awareness. However, there are other avenues. As young people who are in school, you have, well, we call them peer helpers at Families in Action, not peer counselors. So you have peer counselors, you have peer helpers. They can be your first line of what? Right? So they can be of contact. They can be your first line of contact. Then next step is actually to refer, not to counsel, to listen, to refer. And they ask for your permission. Can I refer you? Can I talk to Miss about your issue or go to the guidance officer? If you have no peer helper group in your school, you go to a trusted teacher. There's always that particular teacher in a school who all the students go to. And they feel comfortable to offload. So you go to a teacher, you go to the guidance officer, you find another avenue. Because unfortunately, without adequate education and awareness, many parents still hold that mindset. And that is why my call to action for you as young people is to use your voices, use your platforms. You wouldn't believe parents as well will hear you.
We have a gentleman sign up there. This is the last, so nobody comes to stand up, okay? We really appreciate your the anxiousness, your participation, but you could come back in January and we will continue this. I hear me? No, we'll come back, all right? Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. My name is Ian Yearwood, criminology and criminal justice major. What I really want to ask right about now, because I heard you all speaking a lot about the mental illness, but you all don't really speak about the happy people who actually have the issues, but they will not come and talk to you about it. They are the ones who actually giving the advice. They are the ones who seem loud, the life of the party, but inside themselves they are boiling or really being destroyed. They are the ones who end up hurting themselves later on. And when it happens, nobody seems to want to actually have any answers. They have more questions to ask. If it's possible that it happened to these people who are actually, they will say, happy, life of the party, but they are the ones who end up committing suicide. Also, suggestion really, I heard Mayani talk a lot about the social media. Social media, for me, here to stay. It's not moving, it's not going anywhere. Young people is very impressionable on young people. As much as myself did not like TikTok at all, I was introduced to Miss Simmons, yes, right there. Yes, she introduced me to TikTok. And really, if you adjust your algorithm to TikTok, it gives you a lot of information, and I believe really with this panel itself, you all could bring the information towards social media, because social media is vast. It really helps a lot of people to get the message, and it would help the young people itself to express your messages itself. I mean, WPC, Goddard, for mental health in your department itself, I mean, you're not getting people to come and talk about it at all. You're not even getting, I would say, counselors inside the service, and these are the people who I would say need the service more than anybody, the protective services. Thanks.
There was a comment, right? Okay.
So I agree with the comments, because I mean everybody would know a few weeks ago we had an unfortunate event where some of our colleagues, we had a murder-suicide. And everybody you speak to that was close to those people would tell you the same thing. There was no way that they would have known that could have happened, that WP could have done something like that. She was the life of the party. She had her issues, and like many of us, like myself growing up, she became a master masker. And we mask and we function and we do and we excel and we are seemingly okay And that's becoming a pandemic as well. We need to also pay attention to these people. So I agree with you. And I know it was mentioned, I think your friend, the guy she saw, she noticed. She said it nicely. She noticed him, yes. The guy that she noticed, another masker, he was the life of the party. And I do appreciate your call for more to be done. The TTPS has introduced a social work unit that has psychologists and social workers, and our officers now can access help more rapidly and readily. However, there is still a stigma. You're going to see the social worker, you need time off to see the social worker, something wrong with you. You know, you're mad. Sorry, we don't use that word anymore, but that word is used out there. And it's really time for us to have more forums like these. I want to support Dr. Niles to come back, and I'll be sitting in the audience at the next one in January for us to come back and discuss this issue, because there's so much more work that needs to be done, and I'm excited that we are taking a step forward in the right direction. So thank you, sir.
Okay. Right. Miss Lady, you could understand LAST? FINAL?
Okay, good
because
morning.
There's a lady down there who is my boss.
Okay, that's okay. Good morning. My name is Ria Mohammed, and I'm also a registered psychiatric nurse. So this morning, it was also a learning opportunity for me. I want to say thanks to the panel, right? Sorry, I ran out of memory on my phone, so I couldn't record everything. But this morning, I just want to share some information. You know, WPC, you know, I know you're working with the young people. One of the statements I want to make is that as a caregiver, right? And we look as we were now making a statement about the happy people. But caregivers also need care, right? So as a student, I learned that there was a care plan for caregivers. So if I'm the caregiver, who is going to do this care plan or provide the care for me as a caregiver? Well, I'm still waiting on that answer, right? I have to do it for myself. The other thing I want to make statement to is that we are seeing a lot of young people coming in with induced cocaine or marijuana-induced psychosis. Right? And this statement is for the young people here, or the young at heart also, because we also fall away, we also fall on the side, even as adults, right? And some of us will experiment because our friends are experimenting. Marijuana is very accessible now, right? And the government has made it that way. It's not because they love you all, right? And you all will use this opportunity to say, oh, it's okay because I don't have to be afraid. I can have 30 grams and it's okay. But it's not okay because mental health does not affect the individual. It affects your parents, it affects your sibling, it also affects your community, right? So when young people comes in with these psychosis, now you become addicted to these drugs. After a while, marijuana doesn't give you the thrill. So what they have started to do is mix it with a little cocaine, and I think they call it black cigarette. So when you become addicted, you have to find a way. Now, take it from me, nobody ain't giving you a 30 grams of black cigarette for free. It will come with a cost. You're not going to pick a few leaves off your tree, dry it, grind it, and process it and smoke it, right? The other stuff is going to come at a cost. You will find yourself doing whatever you can to acquire this. It also means, if it means selling your body, right, or being a sex worker, it doesn't matter because you have a craving. If you don't get this fix, you're not going to feel good about yourself. So I just want to tell you all, don't try to experiment, right? It's really hard. And as when you come to us as we as caregivers, it's very hard for us. It's heartbreaking because we know a parent out there is crying, your siblings, and because there's a stigma attached to it, that is not going to go anywhere, right? Your family...
Could you shorten it,
yes,
please?
Your family will be ashamed to deal with it, right? The other statement I want to make is that there is a unit at the St. Anne Psychiatric Hospital that's called the Children Evaluation and Treatment Unit. Here, the children comes in, the evaluations are done, and they decide what form of therapy they can use. So to the WPC and to our Family in Action, right? This unit is available and it's for children under 18 years old, right? And it's free once you come with a referral. So you children who need help, you bring them in, they get the help. And it goes on even after they are discharged. They help the parents along with the patient to adjust to the whole situation. Thank you.
All right, just come, Vayani and Jenny, 1 minute conclusion. Say something, just bring some conclusion. What you want, the last word you want to be heard from your mouth today. Go ahead.
All right. So, all right, mental health is real and we all have our rights. And I want you to sensitize yourself to the disabilities are wrong, all right? The disabilities in the classroom. It's a social thing. They are deprived from being social because nobody wants to talk to anybody who has a disability, all right? So sensitize yourself and make sure you get support yourself and support others.
So I'll say mental health is key and it's very important. And as youths, as young students, young adults growing up, ensure you claim that right and know your limits and teach yourself self-love, teach yourself how to speak up and use your voice and help others to be on your same path. And also, I now said to myself and others, check on your happy friends, all right? Check on them, check on your friends, the happy ones, the sad ones, check on all your friends, ensure that they are all basically doing all right, right? And it's okay to not be okay, but use your voice to speak up.
Such a rich discussion today. Again, a plug for another one that I would be here very most present. But I just want to leave you guys with a little advice. Don't be afraid to speak. I know you've heard it all morning, but you can't stop hearing it enough. Don't be afraid to use your voices. As young people, you can indeed save a life. Use your platforms for positivity, share information, educate each other. Educate your parents, because we have parents on TikTok. Educate your parents as well. Educate those around you, aunts, uncles, and let them know that mental health is indeed a right and not a privilege.
I think my colleague said it all, so now I did a call to action for the young people among us, but I'll do it for everyone in the room. Be brave, use your voice, don't be afraid when you're not feeling like your best self to seek help. That is all.
Ms. Dion Gishard, Mrs. Sasha Williams Goddard, Mrs. Janine McQueen Simmons, Mr. Vayani Tony. It has been a pleasure working with you today and hearing your voices and for your sharing. Congratulations on all that you have done and all you will continue to do. I'm sure we are most enlightened in context of mental health as a universal human right for participation, yes, but also provision and protection for our youth and for our young adults to come. We look forward to a better society, a better USC, and a better home where you live. Congratulations and have a good afternoon. This is Dr. Niles closing off right now.
Let us put our hands together for our illustrious panel. Thank you very much. At this time, I welcome to the stage Ms. Jenna Darrell. She is a behavioral science student at the University of the Southern Caribbean, and she will bring to us a spoken word piece.
Good morning, everybody. Now, I know she said that it's supposed to be a spoken word piece, but I'm just going to tell you a story. And I love telling stories, it's what I do best. So, here's a story, one that I hope you can digest. This story is about a girl who thought she needed to be perfect, to always do well, no breaking the rules, little room for mistakes, that she didn't need help. Top of her class every year, teacher's pet. She got to go everywhere because she was the well-behaved student. She was the one that would represent. But really, she was the one that knew if she stepped outside the line, it wouldn't end well, and that didn't affect her well. Too much self-inflicted pressure to not let anyone down, to not be a disappointment to those around her. She thought she needed to be perfect, remember? Soon she got sick, and the battle happening inside started to show. The cracks were widening, revealing the feeling she had hidden down below. Her mind started telling her she wasn't good enough, that she was meant to fail, that she wasn't meant to be happy, that she didn't deserve to stay. Depression, dark and heavy, looming over her head like a pregnant cloud, anticipating release. She needed release. She tried to stop the noise, though thought that if she stopped, it would too. She never thought that life would be something she'd have to choose. I know this story isn't an isolated one. Many young people experience the burden of expected perfection, then crumble under the weight of reality. Most don't know where to turn when the world around them seems way bigger than before, and it feels like there's nothing they can do about it. Feels like there's no one to talk to, like no one would understand what they're going through. They say it's your right to be mentally healthy, that it's right to be mentally healthy. But most of us aren't right up here, so then why aren't more of us mentally healthy? Why aren't more of us able to combat the voices screaming at us from inside? Why aren't more of us alive? Mental health is a universal right. That sounds more like a plea than a plight. For those of us who suffer in silence, for those of us who could not fight. And if you have not guessed yet, the girl in this story is me. And maybe she might be you too. So take it from someone who knows what it's like. You are loved, you are enough, and I promise we need you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna, for that testimony and ministry. At this time, I'm inviting to the podium Miss Anne-Marie Charles. Mrs. Anne-Marie Charles, she is the Dean of Women at the Women's Dormitory, and she will be leading us through an exercise as Ms. Moore and Ms. John comes around to distribute some gifts.
All right, good morning, or is it good afternoon? It's still morning? A few minutes before afternoon? All right, now I know we've spent quite a bit of time, and I do not plan to take very much of your time this morning, but I'm here to lead out in a little activity. Right, so at this time we have some balls that have been distributed. Please ensure that you get a ball. I'm not sure if we have enough for everybody. We might need some help in getting them distributed a little faster. All right, so as you get your ball, I need you to examine it, touch it, roll it, squeeze it. We should have enough here for most persons. Okay, let's see the hands of those who have not gotten a ball. Okay, we have a few persons at the front. Dr. Niles here. All right, everybody has a ball? All right, so I was tempted to ask the question, how many persons love to play with balls, but I'm not going to ask that because I know that persons' minds are going to wander in directions. All right? Okay. So what I need you to do at this time is to squeeze that ball as hard as you can. Of course, without destroying it. So if you know you have these long nails, ladies, you squeeze it as tight as you can. Oh, my ball. Yes. You squeeze it as tight as you can, and then you relax your grip. Okay, let's try this again. Squeeze it as tight as you can and relaxed, okay? So what you have in your hand there, ladies and gentlemen, is what is referred to as a stress ball, all right? Now, I'm sure sometimes you may enter an office and see somebody with something like that kind of squeezing, and you're probably wondering, you know? All right, so this is a stress ball, and it was originally intended to help deal with stress, of course, all right, and tension, but it also has a lot of other health benefits. I'm just going to share a few of them with us this morning. Of course, it enhances emotional stability. It reduces anxiety and stress. It is known to lower blood pressure, to improve concentration and creativity, to strengthen muscles, of course, the tightening, increased positive energy, and it's also known to improve sleep. Now, and those great benefits for this little ball, all right? The great thing about it is very small, so it's something that you can carry around in your bag, in your pockets, and it's also very inexpensive. I think you can purchase one of these for as little as 10 US on Amazon. Yeah. 10 US people, come on. Who can't afford 10 US? Okay, so some persons are saying that they can support or sponsor students who cannot afford the 10 US. All right? Okay, so yeah, so we said that it helps. We just spoke about all the benefits of the stress ball. So this morning, I just want us to demonstrate how you can use this ball properly, right? And so the benefits to our mental health with the use of this is for us to incorporate this with what I call diaphragmatic exercise or deep breathing, all right? And so we are going to try this morning using our stress ball. Well, I think it's afternoon now. So what I need you to do at this time, we practice squeezing. So I would like you to squeeze your ball again, but this time I want you to breathe in while you squeeze it and breathe out while you release it. Okay? So let's try this. All right? Hold your ball in one hand. So you're going to squeeze it for about 5 seconds, and then you're going to release it for about 5 seconds. All right? So let's try this. Let's squeeze. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You breathe in, right? Make sure you feel like you have a balloon in your stomach. And then you are now going to release. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's try this again. We're going to squeeze it for 5 and release it. Breathe in, squeeze. Breathe out, release. Let's try this. Breathe in, squeeze it, and breathe out, release. Breathe in. Let's count for 5. And breathe out. Release. All right? And you are going to do this until you begin to feel a little more relaxed, right? So you can see, you can use this maybe before an exam. Maybe somewhere in the classroom you begin to feel tense. And we know that stress is a normal part of life. It's the body's way of responding to pressure and tension. So it's normal. We all experience it. But we also know that excessive stress can lead to mental illness, right? So we don't want to go there. We want to nip it in the bud quite early. So whenever you feel stressed, because sometimes you might feel anger, tension, and all these things coming up into your body. So you grab your stress ball, you squeeze it, and you release it. Sometimes in school, young people, somebody gets you upset, and you really feel like doing what? Punching them. All right? So what you do is you run to your little bag, grab your stress ball, squeeze, and release. All right? Squeeze and release. And the beautiful thing this morning is that you can get to keep your stress ball. Isn't that wonderful? So you saved yourself 10 US this morning. All right? You've all saved yourself 10 US. So thank you so much for participating in this very short activity. And I hope you continue to enjoy Mental Health Awareness Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Anne-Marie Charles, Dean of Women. Ms. Sadia Moore, she is the chair of the Department of Sociology and Psychology in the School of Social Sciences at the University of the Southern Caribbean. She has led this year's organizing team for World Mental Health Day. I now invite her to the podium as she makes her closing remarks.
Thank you, Mrs. Henry, and a pleasant good afternoon to everyone. And I'm squeezing my stress ball right now, right? I feel a little stressed with 60 or 50 pairs of eyes staring at me, so I'm going to try my best. Now, as we conclude today's World Mental Health Day, we are not concluding on mental health. All right? As we continue, we are advocates. We are creating awareness, and we are actually going out into the community and making a difference. That is the whole objective of having a program of this nature. It's not just you have fancy people who come up, who speak, and who share, but we really want you to get it. Mental health is a universal human right. Now, for me, growing up in the Caribbean, this theme resonates because my vision is of a Caribbean that is inclusive, of a Caribbean that encourages a culture of growth, a culture where we nurture mental health and wellness, where we create that mental health awareness and we advocate for it. So let me give you one or possibly two stories, as much as I could remember. So one story. I'm from St. Lucia. And 10 years ago, there was a man from my village who was having some problems with his wife. And he says to me, now he was telling his wife lots of bad things, hurtful things that hurt her emotionally. And he said to me, he said, Sadia, there's nothing wrong with what I'm saying to her. He said to me, because it's worse for someone to hit you than someone to say bad words to you. And I listened. My heart was beating so fast because I was ready to talk. But I listened and I allowed him to speak. And then we had a conversation. That evening, I spent 1 hour explaining to him why words hurt and why words matter. And at the end of it, he was enlightened because I was very gentle with him and we had a conversation. I allowed him to speak and express himself, and I didn't overpower him. So that gave him a voice, an ear to listen to me. And at the end of it, he said to me, thank you for sharing that with me, because he said that he never believed that words could impact someone so much, because he believed that if you hit somebody, it's a bad thing, but if you tell someone something mean, it's okay because words don't hurt. So words hurt, and they really do matter. My second story is of another man in my village in St. Lucia, and that happened earlier this year. His son was diagnosed with a psychological disorder, schizophrenia, and he called to me and he said to me, you know what, the doctors made a mistake. He has no psychological disorder. And he said to me, but don't you think it was a mistake? Doctors make mistakes all the time. And I listened and I realized that he was in shock. And I spoke and I've been speaking to him and I'm still having that conversation with him. So you asked the question, what can you do? What does the theme, mental health is a universal human right, what does that mean to you? What are you going to go out in the community and out in the society and do with that information? And there's always something that everyone can do. And one of the things that you can do is what I did and what I do when people reach out to me, where you break the stigma and you explain to them the importance of getting help and understanding what it is all about. So there's always something that we can do. And if you have a mental health ball that looks like a globe, I hope that you remember every time you look at this ball, especially the ones that look like a globe, I hope you remember to advocate and be an advocate. And when you look at this globe, remember that you are not the only person who's impacted. Everyone all around the world is impacted. Their mental health and well-being is impacted. It matters, and your mental health and well-being matters. And I want to leave you with something that was said that I really liked, and I wrote it down from the skit this morning. It's okay, and it's not new to me, but it said it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to suffer alone. And in 2019, when we had our first World Mental Health Day program, Dr. Yvonne Lewis, who was the then Director of Mental Health at the Ministry of Health, she said that there is no health without mental health, and I never forgot that. So I want to remind you that there is no help without mental health, and there is always something that you can do. Thank you for being here, and I pass you over to Dr. Gomes, who's going to share greetings and thank you with you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my esteemed pleasure to bring thank you greetings to everybody who is here and some of who have left already. I know the morning was long, and so I don't want to go through every single person who is here. But I need to thank the esteemed panel headed by Dr. Niles, WPC's Sasha William Goddard, Miss Dion Gishard, Mrs. Janine Ewan Simmons, and Mr. Bayani Tony. And if you could hold the applause now until the end. All right. Our special invitees, Ayana John, Assistant Director, Health Education, Ministry of Health, Mrs. Irma Bailey Reyes, Development Assessment Intervention Unit, Ministry of Health, Dr. Alexander Isaacs, Mrs. Victoria DeCoto, Health Director, the Southern Caribbean Conference. Oh, she sent her apologies. I'm so sorry. All right. And of course, the president of our esteemed campus, and the provost, the Office of Finance, the Integrated Market Office, the event managers, the peer counselors, and all the students who were so brave to participate and ask the questions, to all the students who came. And especially I'm seeing Dr. Archer here still, Dr. Roberts, Dr. Buko. Thank you very much for your excellent support to this event. And so as we close off the morning, we want to thank God for life, for breath, for helping us to balance our lives, for bringing us safely here and guiding us back to our destinations, respective destinations. May your journey back to your respective destinations be safe, and remember to take care of yourselves physically, mentally, and spiritually. But before you go, we have some tokens of appreciation that I would like to call on our Dean, Dr. Chand, to distribute.
Please applaud as we welcome WPC Sasha Williams-Goddard to the podium to receive her token. Thank you very, very much. Assist me in welcoming Ms. Dion Guichard, CEO, Families in Action. Okay, assist me in welcoming Mrs. Janine McEwen-Simmons. Mr. Vianney Tony, please come up. And our illustrious panel moderator, Dr. Kenneth Niles. Please join us at the stage. Quite distinguished, I must say. Thank you very much, Dr. Chand, our Dean. We at the University of the Southern Caribbean are committed to making mental health a universal human right for all. We look forward to our continued collaboration with our partners as we create safe spaces, raise awareness, advocate, and support our youth so that their mental health, and by extension, the mental health of our world, will be in good hands. I charge each and every one of you today to become mental health ambassadors. I now invite Mrs. Nasha James to the podium as she closes off this ceremony in prayer. Please stand.
Our heads are bowed and our eyes are closed. Loving Father, our God who is interested in every aspect of our lives, we thank you for being present. We thank you for being interested. Help us to reach out to you when we feel unwell. Help us to reach out to each other when we feel unwell. Help us to be there for each other, and help us to love each other as you have instructed. Thank you for this program. Thank you for the university. Thank you for the School of Social Sciences, and help us to be impactful in every aspect of this education system that you have entrusted to us. Bless us and keep us. In your most precious name I pray. Amen.
As we leave this auditorium, I'm inviting everyone to please exit using this entrance, the larger one, closer to the elevator so that you can receive your refreshments as you go. Thank you again, and do enjoy the rest of your day.